Hi everyone, so in this video I'm going to show you how to crochet this cute summer shrug which can be made in any children's or baby size. So for my shrug I used a 5mm crochet hook and DK weight yarn. So thank you very much for watching, and please make sure to subscribe to my channel for more crochet videos. So we're going to start off by making the back of our shrug, and to begin the back we need to do a slip knot. So to do a slip knot, take your yarn and take your finger and wrap the yarn around your finger once and then twice. Then take the first loop and pull it over the second loop, and then take the second loop and pull it all the way over your finger. You then want to take your crochet hook, go in through this space and pull tight. And there you have a slip knot. And now once you have your slip knot, we are now going to make our foundation chain. And you can make your foundation chain as long or as short as you like, but the length of your chain will depend on how wide you want the back of your shrug to be. So I'm going to make my shrug in a little baby size, so say 3 to 6 months. So here I have a t-shirt in the size that I want to make my shrug, and I'm going to make my foundation chain this long, so for the width of the t-shirt. And you can make your shrug in any children's size that you like, so from newborn all the way up to an older child size. And an easy way to work out how many chains to do is to take a t-shirt or a dress or a cardigan or just a piece of clothing in the size that you want your shrug to be, and make your foundation chain up to this length. And your foundation chain must also be a multiple of 5. So you can chain 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45. It's completely up to you as long as it is a multiple of 5. So make your foundation chain. So I have just finished making my foundation chain of a multiple of 5, and I'm doing size 3 to 6 months, and I ended up chaining 30. So if you're doing 0 to 3 months, you might want to chain 25, and if you're doing 6 to 12 months, you might want to chain 35 or 40. It's completely up to you, but that is what I chained, and I'm using a 5mm crochet hook and DK weight yarn. So once you have done your foundation chain, we are now ready to move on to round 1. So to begin round 1, we are going to chain 3. So chain 1, 2 and 3 on top of our foundation chain. And now we're just going to do a simple round of double crochet. And we're going to do our first double crochet into the second chain from the hook. So here is the first chain from the hook, and here is the second chain. So yarn over and go down into this chain, yarn over and pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through 2 loops, and then yarn over and pull through the final 2 loops on your hook. So there we have 1 double crochet into that chain. So now yarn over and go into the next one and do the same thing into this chain, and then do 1 double crochet into the third chain along and 1 into the next, and just keep doing this all the way along, 1 double crochet into each and every chain. So I have just finished working that all the way along for round 1, and at the end of this round you should have 2 more double crochets than you chained. So you should now have your multiple of 5 plus 2. So I chained 30, so I should now have 32 double crochets. And I do, and I would recommend going back and just double checking that you have that right number of stitches. And once you have done that, we are ready to move on to round 2. So for the next 2 rounds of the back of our shrug, so for rounds 2 and 3, we're just going to do 1 double crochet into every single stitch. So to begin round 2, chain 1 and turn. And now we're just going to do 1 double crochet into every single stitch along. And then we're going to do the same thing for round 3. Chain 1 and turn and do 1 double crochet back up into every single stitch. And our chain 1 and turns never count as a stitch, so we need to yarn over and go back down into this first stitch here and do 1 double crochet, then do 1 into the next stitch and 1 into the next, and just continue this all the way along for round 2, making sure that you go into this very last stitch at the end, and then chain 1 and turn and do 1 double crochet into every single stitch for round 3. And in each round you should find that you have the same number of double crochets as you had in round 1. So I have just finished working those rounds, so I have come to the end of round 3, and if you have a look at our work and line it up with our t-shirt, this is where our shrug is going to lie. So it's going to lie underneath the arms and kind of just above the waist. And if you wanted a longer shrug, so if you wanted your shrug to kind of be down here or so, you may want to add an additional round of plain double crochet, or maybe even an additional 2 rounds of plain double crochet before we move on to round 4. As in round 4, we are going to start decreasing for the arms. So we're going to do this part here. So if you want a longer shrug, or if you were doing an older child size, so maybe 5, 6, 7, 8 years, then you can go ahead and add 1 or 2 more rounds of plain double crochet. But now we're going to move on to round 4, and in this round we're going to begin decreasing for the arms. So to begin this round, you want to chain 1 and turn, and this chain 1 does not count as a stitch. And we're going to start off by working a stitch called 2 double crochets together. And when we do 2 double crochets together, we do 2 double crochets, 1 into each stitch, but we do not complete either of them, and then we complete them both together at the same time. So we are effectively turning 2 stitches into 1. So you want to start off by yarning over and going down into this very first stitch, yarning over and pull up a loop, and yarn over and pull through 2 loops, just as you would with a normal double crochet. But you do not want to complete this stitch, leave this double crochet incomplete, so stop here and move on to the next one. So yarn over and go into the next stitch and pull up a loop, then yarn over and pull through 2 loops, just as you would with a normal double crochet. But you do not want to complete this double crochet either. So here we have 2 incomplete double crochets, and you should have 3 loops on your hook, and you want to yarn over and pull through all 3. So there we have completed 2 double crochets together, and we have turned 2 stitches into 1. So now what you want to do is you want to do 1 double crochet into the next stitch. So 1 double crochet, then 1 into the next. And you want to continue this all the way along, 1 double crochet into every single stitch until 2 stitches from the end. So you want to stop when you get here, so when you have just 2 stitches left at the end. So do 1 double crochet into each stitch until 2 stitches from the end. So I have just finished working that all the way along, and I have 2 stitches left at the end, and you need to make sure that you are not counting the little chain 1 as a stitch. Make sure that you are stopping before the last 2 double crochets. And to finish off this round, we're going to do another set of 2 double crochets together. So just like we did at the beginning of this round. So yarn over and go into the next stitch and start to work a double crochet, but stop right before the last step. And now yarn over, go into the next stitch. This is the last stitch of the round, and start to work another double crochet, but stop here before the last step of that last double crochet. And there you have 2 incomplete double crochets, and you should have 3 loops on your hook, and yarn over and pull through all 3. And there we have finished round 4. So we started off with a chain 1 and turn, and then we did 2 double crochets together. Then we did 1 double crochet into every single stitch, stopping 2 stitches before the end, and then we finished off with another set of 2 double crochets together. So there we have done round 4, and now we're ready to move on to round 5. So we are now on to round 5 of the back of our shrug, and for the next 3 rounds, so for rounds 5, 6 and 7, so 3 rounds, we are just going to repeat round 4, so the round that we just did. So to begin each round, chain 1 and turn, do 2 double crochets together over the first 2 stitches, then do 1 double crochet into every single stitch until 2 stitches from the end, and then finish off by doing 2 double crochets together. So once you have done that all the way along for round 5, do the same thing for round 6, and then the same thing for round 7. So we're doing 3 repeats of round 4. So I have finished working those repeats, and I have come to the end of round 7. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 rounds in total. And now at the end of this round, you should have 8 less stitches than you had down here. So I had 32 double crochets in each round down here. So I should now have 24 stitches at the end of round 7. And I would recommend that you go back and just double check that you have that number. So 8 less stitches than you had when you were doing your rounds of just plain double crochet. And then once you have done that, we are now ready to move on to round 8. So to begin round 8, chain 1 and turn, and this chain 1 does not count as a stitch. And round 8 is just a simple round of double crochet. So we're just going to do 1 double crochet into every single stitch. So I have just finished working that all the way along for round 8, so double crochets into every stitch. And now for the rest of the back of our shrug, we are just going to keep repeating round 8, so just plain rounds of double crochet until you reach where you want your shrug to stop. So until you reach the very top of your t-shirt or the back of the neck. So just keep repeating those rounds, and I think that I'm going to do around about 4 or 5 more repeats for size 3 to 6 months, but you can do as many as you like. You could do 5 repeats, 6, 7, 8, 9. It's completely up to you until it reaches the very top of where you want the back of your shrug to stop. So to begin each round, chain 1 and turn. So chain 1 and turn. And then we're going to do 1 double crochet down into the first stitch and 1 into the next, and just keep repeating that all the way along, and then keep repeating those rounds. So I have finished working those rounds. So I ended up doing 5 rounds of plain double crochet in total. So I did 4 repeats and 5 rounds in total. So I now have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 rounds from the very start. And there we have finished the back of our shrug. And like I said, I'm just doing a little baby one here, so that's why mine is so small, but you may have a much bigger one. So now once you have done that, you now want to fasten off. So pull your yarn out and your hook and cut your yarn, leaving a tail to weave in later. So cut your yarn. And now we are ready to move on to the front of our shrug. So we are now on to the front of our shrug, and the front is made in 2 parts. We have one part which goes along this side and then one which goes along the other side. And so we're going to start off by making the first part. And to do this, we need to begin by doing a slip knot, just in the same way as we started the back. And now we are going to make our foundation chain, and the length of your foundation chain will depend on the size of the back of your shrug. So you need to make your chain this length here. So you want to make a chain which is the length from the very top of your shrug all the way down to the bottom of the first decrease round. So if you take your work, you want to count up the rows to where you started the first decrease round. So for me that was 3 rounds. I did 3 rounds of plain double crochet, but you may have done 4 or maybe even 5. So remember how many rounds of plain double crochet you did for the beginning of the back, and you want to count up those rounds. So for me that was 3. So I'm going to count up 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to go to the top of that round. So here I can see I began decreasing. So I have my first set of 2 double crochets together, and I need to make a foundation chain that goes from here and follows this curve and goes up and around and then reaches here at the top. And so for some people that may be a lot longer than others, depending on how big you made the back of your shrug. And your foundation chain must also be a multiple of 7. So you can chain 14, 21, 28, 35. It's completely up to you, as long as it is a multiple of 7 and goes from here, from the very top, all the way down to the bottom where you first started to decrease, so just underneath your first decrease round. So make your foundation chain. So I have just finished making my foundation chain, and I chained 21, which is a multiple of 7, and you can see my chain now reaches from the top here of the back, and it goes down and it can follow the curve and come around to the top of my first decrease round. And if your chain is a little bit long, so if it comes kind of down a little bit further, that doesn't matter. You want it to be longer rather than shorter. So if you find that, say, 16 is what you need to chain, but that isn't a multiple of 7, always go up. So go up to the next multiple of 7. You want it to be bigger rather than smaller. So once you have done your foundation chain, we are now ready to move on to round 1 of the front of our shrug. And to begin round 1, we are going to chain 1. So we're going to chain 1 on top of our multiple of 7. And now we're going to do a simple round of double crochet. So yarn over and go into the second chain from the hook. So here's the first chain and the second chain. Go into the second one and do 1 double crochet into this chain, and then do 1 double crochet into the next one, and just keep doing this all the way along, 1 double crochet into each and every chain. So I have finished working those double crochets for round 1, and at the end of this round you should have the same number of double crochets as you originally chained. So I chained 21, so I should therefore have 21 double crochets, and I do. So now we're going to move on to round 2. So to begin this round, chain 1 and turn. And now we're going to do 1 double crochet into each of the first 6 stitches. So we're going to do 6 double crochets, 1 into each stitch. So yarn over, go into the first stitch and do 1 double crochet, then do 1 into the next, and keep doing this until you have 6. So there I have 6 double crochets, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And now into the next stitch, we're going to do 2 double crochets. So yarn over, go into this next one and do 1, and then yarn over, go back down into the same stitch again and do a second double crochet into this one. So there we have 1 double crochet into 6 stitches and 2 double crochets into the next, and we're going to repeat this all the way along for round 2. Do 6 more double crochets, 1 into each stitch, then 2 double crochets into the next, 6 more double crochets, 2 into the next, and just keep repeating that all the way along. So I have finished working that all the way along for round 2. So I finished off by doing 2 double crochets into this last stitch at the end. So now to begin round 3, you want to chain 1 and turn, and round 3 is very similar to round 2. But in round 2 we did 6 double crochets, 1 into each stitch, then 2 double crochets into the next. But in this round, in round 3, we're going to do 7 double crochets, then 2 double crochets into the next. So start off by doing 7 double crochets, 1 into each stitch. Like that. So there we have 7 double crochets, and now into the next stitch do 2 double crochets, both into this one, and just keep repeating that all the way along for round 3. 7, 2, 7, 2, 7, 2. So I have just finished working that all the way along. So I have 7 double crochets, then 2 into the next, and now we're going to move on to round 4. So chain 1 and turn, and round 4 follows the same pattern, but in this round we're going to do 8 double crochets, 1 into each stitch, then 2 into the next, then 8 double crochets, 1 into each stitch, then 2 into the next, all the way along. So start off by doing 8 double crochets, like that, and then do 2 double crochets both into this next one, and just continue this all the way along. So I have just finished working that all the way along for round 4, and once you have done that, we have finished the first half of the front of our shrug. So if you take the back and then this half is going to lie here, so we are going to join it from the very bottom. So we're going to join here up, and then we're also going to join this section here along the top. And if you feel that this isn't big enough, So if it doesn't reach down to the bottom of your shrug completely, and if you're doing an older child size, that may be the case, and if you did more rounds of plain double crochet here, that may be the case as well, then you can just add 1 or maybe even 2 rounds of plain double crochet onto your front here. So you would chain 1 and turn, and then you would do 1 double crochet into every single stitch, and chain 1 and turn again, and 1 double crochet into every single stitch. And it's really important that when you get to the last round of the front of your shrug that you have a multiple of 10, and we do at the end of round 4 we have a multiple of 10. So just make sure if you are adding additional rounds that you only add 1 double crochet into every single stitch, so that you stick with this number and stick with your multiple of 10. So once you have done that, you can fasten off. So pull your yarn out and your hook and cut your yarn. And when you cut your yarn, leave a long tail, as you can use this tail or this end to join your pieces together. And then once you have done that, you want to go ahead and make a second piece for the front in the exact same way. So you can go back in the video and watch those steps again, but you need to do a slip knot, make your foundation chain a multiple of 7. So then once you've done your foundation chain, do rounds 1, 2, 3, 4 and so on in the exact same way as you did this side. So you want to have 2 front pieces, 1 for each side, made in the exact same way. So I have finished doing my second front piece. So this is what you should have. You should have a back and 2 front pieces. And now before we go ahead and add our border and bring it all together, we need to sew up our work. So we need to join these pieces. And to do that, you need a sewing needle or a tapestry needle. And we're going to join in 4 places. We're going to join along the sides here from the bottom up, then from the top, from the very corner across, then on this side from the top across, and on this side from the bottom up. So we're going to join in 4 places, and I'm going to show you how to do one place, and then you can go ahead and do the rest. So we are going to use a stitch called the whip stitch. So you want to take your yarn needle and thread your yarn, and I'm going to be using my end from where I fastened off here, but if you didn't leave a long enough end, then just take a long piece of yarn and use that to sew up your work. So go to the very corner and go in through the same stitch, so the very last stitch, and you want to line your work up perfectly, so make sure that it's all nice and lined up, and you want to go in through the next stitch and through to the opposite side and pull your yarn through. Then with the whip stitch you always come back around to the same side, go in through the next stitch, pull your work through, back around to the same side, in through the next stitch, pull your yarn through, and just do this all the way along. So I've just finished going along for that bottom piece, and if you end up going further up than your first decrease round, that is fine, that's completely fine. Just make sure that it's all sewn up nice together. So then once you have done that, you can weave that end into the inside of your shrug, and then go ahead and sew it up at the top here, and there you will have your first armhole complete, and then do the other side in the exact same way. So I have just finished sewing up my shrug, and this is what I have. And then once we have done this, we can move on to the very last part, which is adding the border. So to begin the border, you want to turn your work inside out. So turn your shrug inside out. And then you want to go to the very last stitch here. So go to the right hand side and go to the very top, so the last stitch of the front, and insert your hook into this stitch. So it should be the stitch right before the join. Then take your new yarn, and I'm going with a new colour here, but of course you can use the same colour if you like. Place it over the end of your hook, pull it through, and then chain 1. And there we have attached our new yarn to our work. So now you want to yarn over, go down into this stitch and do 1 double crochet. and then chain 1 and skip the next 2 stitches. So skip 1 and 2, and then into this next stitch we're going to do a V, and to do a V we do double crochet, chain 3, double crochet. So yarn over, skip 1 and 2, and into the next one do double crochet, chain 1, 2, 3, and then double crochet like that. And then you want to chain 1 and skip 4 stitches. So skip 1, 2, 3, 4. Then into the next stitch we're going to do another V. So double crochet, chain 3, double crochet all into this one. Like that. And then chain 1 and skip 4 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4. And you want to repeat this all the way around for round 1 of the border. We're going to do a V, then chain 1 and skip 4 stitches, then do a V into the next stitch, chain 1, skip 4 stitches, all the way around. So just keep repeating that all the way around. And whenever we do a V, we do double crochet, chain 3, double crochet all down into the same stitch. And we're going to go down around the side, and then when you come to the back, work over the join and go down the bottom of the back, and then come back up around to the side. And you want to stop when you get to the very end of the front, the other front part. So I'm just coming to the end of my border. So now you want to chain 1 and skip these next 2 stitches, and then in the last stitch at the very end, finish off by doing a double crochet. And this last stitch should be the last stitch right before the join here. You don't want to go and work your border along this back section, which will go behind the neck. Just finish off by doing your last double crochet before the join. So there we have done round 1 of our border, and now we're ready to move on to round 2, which is the final round of our shrug. So to begin this round, chain 1 and turn, and now you want to go down into this first double crochet and do 1 double crochet into this stitch. And now into the first V, we're going to do a shell. And when we do a shell, we do double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, chain 1, double crochet. So we're doing 4 double crochets with chains in between them. So yarn over and go into the V and do a double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, chain 1, and double crochet. So there we have 4 double crochets with chains in between them, and you want to do that into every single V. So into each V around, do a shell. So we're going to yarn over and go straight into the next V and do a shell just as we did that one. 4 double crochets with chains in between them. And just do this all the way around. So I have finished working that all the way around for the second round of my border, and then when I got to the very end and worked my last shell into the last V, you want to go ahead and do a final double crochet into this last stitch at the end. So into the very last stitch, so into the last double crochet, do a double crochet and then fasten off. So pull your yarn out and your hook and cut your yarn, And then using a yarn needle, just quickly go ahead and join those little border bits to the neckline. And we're just going to do that using the whip stitch in the same way as we joined before. And then once you have done that, you can sew all of your ends into the inside of your shrug, and you have finished. So that is it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it and found it easy to follow. Please make sure to subscribe to my channel for more crochet videos. And in the description box below this video, I will leave a link to where you can find my Twitter account. So if you would like to go and follow me on there, I always like to post updates and pictures of upcoming tutorials, and I would love to see photos of your crochet work on Twitter as well. And in the description box, I will also leave a link to where you can find some of my written patterns if you are interested. And thank you again for watching. Bye!